Hello, hello. Well, good morning. Happy New Year. We're about 4 days into New Year. So things may have already kicked up for you. Things may still be the same. So it'll be interesting to see how this year is going for you so far. And it's funny, isn't it, that we have 2020, and then all of a sudden then we have another year. And a lot of us can get caught up in going, well, it's another year, it's totally different. We can say goodbye to 2020. I can let go of all of that, and then I can then create this new 2021. But in actual fact, this is happening for you each and every day, if you could see it that way. Because as we travel through time, good morning, Ali. I'm just enjoying a cup of tea, so hopefully you're enjoying a cup of tea as well. So there's this concept that, when we move around the sun, it takes 364 and a quarter days. And this time last year, in the space of the universe, we think that we're in the same space. Say this is the sun, and then this is the earth, and it revolves around it. And we come back to here, and we think, okay, well, this is where I am. This is where I was last year. But in actual fact, the way that the universe works is the universe expands. And it expands in one direction, in a sense. It expands out. So as it's expanding out, the sun, think about it, starts to move. So as the sun starts to move, we are also moving. So by the time we come back around to this time of year, which is this one, we're actually in a different space, because last year we were here. So astrologically, you are in a different space, and we saw this very significantly on the 21st of December when we had what they call conjunction day, when Jupiter and Saturn were very closely aligned, and you could see it out in the southwest in the evening. You could see these two planets, which were reflecting the sun, but they look like stars, coming close together, and they were actually aligned to a certain degree where they look like one star. So notice that we can see that when we start to look up celestially, and we can start to see, hang on, I'm in a different part of the universe this year, today. So we're constantly moving through the universe. And as we can say, this is the end of one year and this is the beginning of another, we actually are in a different space. So, Ange, how are you? So we're in a different space. And when we are in a different space, well then, what is the space that you hold? Because you're ultimately in a different space as well. So we can easily get caught up in it's just another year, it's just another day. But yes, it is another day, and I'm breathing. I get to breathe, so many times today, and I can celebrate that. And then the question is, what do I want to do with it? And we just recently did the Setting Intentions workshop, and had 23, 25 beautiful souls turn up to that and be present. And we work through a 3-word mantra. So each and every day you get to do this stuff. Each and every day is a blessing. Each and every day is a gift. So can we see it as a gift? And when we can, we engage with life a lot more as well too. Now, once again, this is all awareness, and this is my key message is to be aware of the arisings that are being revealed within you each and every moment, each and every day, because they are the messages from beyond. They also the messages of the mind, and the mind is wanting to go, hey, do we want to keep this stuff or do we want to let it go? So we can let it go, and 2020 was a year of letting go, a year of becoming aware of our attachments. And for some of us, we had to let go of a lot of things. And 2021 can be a year where we are more so now that we've let go of a lot of stuff, we're a cleaner vessel, but then the question is, what is it you want to invite? If you're going to let go of stuff, what is it that I want to invite? So let's talk about why we're here today. Today I want to discuss with you a concept or a realization, an insight that came to me whilst I was in meditation, but also I also had some consolidation of that when I had a reading from a good friend of mine, Sam. And this is something that we've been working on quite significantly within the men's group in relation to sacred masculinity. And one of the things I've said to the guys is, hey, there is this masculine side of you, and what's the divine part of it? What does that look like? How does that feel? How does it act? Where is it, As much as there is that sacred masculine side, there is also the sacred and the divine feminine side that exists within each and every one of us. So for the guys, it was about bringing them to the point of, let's shift from toxic masculinity to sacred and divine masculinity. But while we're there, let's have a discussion around what the divine feminine would actually look like and how that actually is the greater part of us. Now, as much as I can have these conversations in a men's group, what this pertains to is that this is relative to everybody. If you are a human being, you will have a feminine and a masculine part of you. Well, that's what you are. It's the duality coming into one. And it's the yin and the yang, complementary but opposite forces. Each has their own purpose. Each has their own gift, their own skill set, their own tools. And when we become aware of them, we can start to see how we can align with them. Okay, so I had this dream, and in the dream, and I really wasn't too sure what the dream was, but what I was getting out of it, what I was getting from the actual dream was a word, and the word was called Yoni Man, and Yoni Man. Okay, and previous to that, we did a podcast with the Sacred Masculinity Boys. And we were talking about yonis and lingams, and I've spoken about this in some detail before. The yoni is the womb of creation; it's the feminine. The linga or the lingam is the masculine. In a sense, we can look at it from a physical perspective, the appendage, or from the metaphysical perspective, it's how the masculine engages in the world, how it, in a sense, penetrates the world. I don't necessarily like that word penetrate, though. So how does the masculine engage in the world, and how does the feminine, being the womb of creation, how does it support the masculine in what it needs to do? So I wanted to take you on a bit of a journey to come to, I guess, my understanding of this and how it might relate to you, and definitely how it relates to myself. So if we look at ourselves, even though I'm in a male form and you might be in a female form or a male form, if we go along the concepts of that I am consciousness having a human experience, then this male form, it's not necessarily who I am. It's the vehicle that I am inhabiting during this temporary life. All right. When this lifetime is finished, complete, I will then transition to what I have always been, or in a sense I will let go of this physical carriage and return to what I have been and ultimately will continue to be, and that is soul, creation, consciousness, love. We then have this concept around reincarnation. So reincarnation would then suggest that I have had multiple lives and I'll have many, many more lives. I don't just have 20 and then I'm it and then I live in heaven. Life is infinite, and we constantly move through lifetimes, and we actually move through universes, and we're continuing to return back to the Godhead in a sense. And I'll share with you another conversation, probably next week, where I talk about the concept of multi-universes, so multiverse, okay? Park that one for the moment and we'll hold on to it. But in each and every reincarnation, you're not necessarily masculine or male or female. However, you choose to come into these forms for a particular learning, for a particular purpose. And mine in this form is masculine. I have been feminine in other forms. And you may be feminine in this form, but you may have been also masculine in other forms as well. So, this masculine and feminine of the outer that we see it has a particular body, it has particular appendages, all that sort of stuff. But it ultimately has, and then it could have particular behaviours, there's cultural beliefs, all that sort of stuff, right? And then you have the feminine form, which has its own shape and its own appendages and the way that it's created too. However, within us, from a metaphysical perspective, there's a masculine and then there's a feminine. So there's a receptive side, which is the feminine. So there's the yin side and then there's the yang side. And it's about balancing the yin and the yang, if we want to then break it down to those types of concepts. So when we talk about masculine and feminine within us from a metaphysical perspective, then, and we want to come to this understanding, well, it's good to have a balance of this, because if I'm too masculine, I might be too overpowering. I might be too in your face. I may not be willing to listen. So, whereas if I'm too feminine, I might be too passive. I'm not able to speak up and speak my words and advocate for myself and advocate for others. Or I might just let things go too much, you know. So it's the balancing between the two. And we can start to look at that from particular behaviours, particular traits, even particular beliefs. But there's this energetical interplay that sits within us that's constantly, in a sense, making love to itself. And this is, in a sense, why we seek out a companion, one of the opposite, to create union with, because there's this integration that we ultimately want to feel between the masculine and the feminine. And that is based on love. Okay. However, sometimes we then get caught up in the external and we go, oh, it's, you know, you make me feel this way. I'm in love with you. You know, when in actual fact, you're in the state of love when you're with another self. The experience that you have is the experience that you have. And so then I can then bring it back to self and go, this is really interesting. What this person is being the vehicle of is for me to learn to express my feminine, for me to learn to express my masculine. And then I can then start to thank that person, because sometimes the experiences that we have with others aren't necessarily, like we've said before, rainbows, unicorns and fluffy clouds. There can be some thunderstorms and lightning that happens with it as well. So, but the other self is always the vehicle. Yes, it is always the vehicle for you to see yourself, because ultimately we don't see the world as it is. We see the world as we see ourselves. And so what's arising for you within the interactions that you have with others is an opportunity for something to be revealed, that you can, in a sense, love with the divine feminine and understand with the divine masculine. And so what I've found is that ultimately we all come from the feminine. So when we are, you know, even from a cellular division perspective of being created, we all start off as feminine, and then the split happens and it then chooses to be either masculine or feminine, okay, male or female. So, but you think about this too, that every one of us on this planet comes from the womb. It comes from a mother. So even though I'm masculine, I cannot be created unless I come from the feminine. So the feminine actually represents the womb of creation. That is the yoni. The yoni is the womb of creation. And if you look at it from a celestial perspective, it's all of the space that exists within the universe. And if you wanted to look at the masculine perspective, it's the planets and the stars. It's It's the physical objects that are moving through that space. But everything is held in space. Now, let's go a little bit deeper. Let's look at us too. Remember, your 70 trillion cells, 300 million of your cells are created and are destroyed, or not destroyed, we won't say that. They are born and then they die. And you're actually made of more space than you are of matter. So you, in essence, are the same as the space that exists within the universe. And this is this connection, this union, that infinite intelligence, life, and I are one. But I am my own unique expression of it. So I am the space, but I am coming from the feminine. Now, this is a beautiful thing that I found, and it just makes so much sense, is that the feminine is the architect and the designer of the platform for the masculine to speak from. So the yoni is the womb of creation. It is the yin. It's receptive in nature. It is loving in nature. It holds. So your feminine, whether you're a male or a female, holds space for you. And we've spoken about holding space for others before. If somebody's a bit dysregulated and they come to us, we can hold space and we can inquire in and we can question in and go, okay, I'm here for you. See, that's the feminine. And then I said, remember, you need to hold space for yourself. So whenever you're a little bit upset and dysregulated and something has happened for you, I can hold space for myself until I then work out what this is. So notice, that's the feminine. So the feminine has the greatest capacity to hold space. And as it holds space, it holds it with love. Now, when you are being held, you are feeling nurtured and supported, encouraged and fostered. And so what the female, or what the feminine, what the divine feminine does, is it allows you, it creates this stage then for the masculine to then inquire into things. Because the masculine, if you think about this from a male perspective, they always want to fix stuff, Someone will come to them with a problem, it might be something that physically they can fix, and that's what they want to do, but it might be emotionally they want to fix it. Whereas the feminine would go, okay, what is it that you're feeling? Where are you at? I can only imagine, so that they're more emphatic with them. Whereas the masculine wants to go, okay, what's the problem? Here's the solution, let's do that. So the masculine actually wants to understand. So here we have the feminine that has the love and the support, and it creates the platform. So for me speaking to you, my feminine is holding space for me. And the love is coming through. I can actually feel it now. The masculine part of me is the one that has spent time in trying to understand this, so I can put it into words so I can then share it with you. And so your feminine will be receiving this, and your masculine will be going, do I understand that? I need to spend a bit more time with that. Okay, I need another video of that. We might need to watch this again. What does he mean by saying that? I just need to write this down. So that's the masculine. It's in a sense, the analytical. It's the part that wants to understand things. The masculine it sees things as a whole, and then it pulls it apart in its little parts, and then puts it back together. And then it says, this is how I can fix it. So the masculine's really good in explaining things. So once again, notice this within yourself. This isn't about male and female. This is about the masculine and feminine energies that are residing within you. And the feminine is holding space while the masculine gets to speak and look and inquire into, and then come out and then express. So we all are coming from the feminine because we come from the womb of creation. So I would even then suggest that, and it's not that, the feminine's larger than the masculine. It's not necessarily about that. It's that we have a masculine and a feminine within us. The feminine holds the space, and of course it holds the space because what holds the space for the feminine? It's the womb of creation, which is feminine in nature. So it holds space for the masculine to then sit upon and supports it while it inquires into. And, we've spoken about a concept of pain is inevitable, suffering is optional. So a lot of the work that I do with you through the coaching and through what I share is that it's a masculine approach. However, it is held by the feminine. So when you come to see me, you feel the love from me. And that's the feminine that you feel. When I speak through wisdom, and that's the masculine. So the feminine is the love and the masculine is the wisdom. But for the masculine to understand the wisdom, it needs to pull things apart so it can put it back together so it then understands it. And then it comes to the feminine and goes, hey, I've worked it out. Everything's based on love. And the feminine goes, yeah, that's what I've been saying all along. But you needed to go down that path, didn't you? And it's not that the feminine is better than the masculine, it's just the feminine is able to hold that space. And it's such a beautiful space. And allow the masculine to understand it, to then bring it back. Because the feminine, in a sense, can only see things through the eyes of love. The feminine doesn't pull things apart and come to the understanding of it. The feminine just goes, man, we just need to love everything. It's the simple thing. And I understand that, and I'm sure you understand that as well. But for some of us, in particular situations, that just doesn't cut it. How can I love something? And so then the question is, how can I love something? And masculine goes, cool, I can find that out for you. Let me go down the rabbit hole. Let me go and sit with this. But can you support me while I do it? And that's what the feminine does to the masculine, for the masculine. It says, I am here for you because I am love. I am everything that encompasses love. But I see the value in the masculine wanting to understand this, because the understanding creates the wisdom. The wisdom can then be shared with others. And that's the balancing of it. It's the integration of the two. It's the yin and the yang. But ultimately, we are all supported by the feminine because it is the womb of creation. Now that's all wonderful, isn't it? That we can look at that and think about that. But practically, what does that mean? Well, you have been doing this all through the time that you work with me, all through your life where you've hit some speed bumps, some roller coasters up and down. When you're down, your feminine is actually holding space for you, and your masculine starts to try to understand it. So it can work really, really well when you're aware of the divinity of the masculine and the feminine. But when we're caught up in the egoic masculine and feminine, that's when things can be a little bit toxic. And that's where we can then start to get confused. So this is obviously where the work that we're doing is we're going, hey, we need to understand the mind, okay? Because in a sense, the mind could actually come from a masculine component, because the mind loves to pull things apart, compartmentalize, label things, put things together and go, here, I found a solution. The mind has a problem-solving mandate. So in saying this now, I'm probably even suggesting that the mind is quite more masculine and your intuition is more feminine. So we've got this beautiful mind. We would be dishonouring this experience if we did not use it, if we did not use it as a tool. So to honour this experience, let's use it, because it's such a beautiful mind and there's the analytical components of it. But can the divine masculine guide the mind into understanding what has arisen, while the divine feminine just holds the divine masculine in allowing it to do it? So whenever we have been speaking and I say to you, hey, notice what's arising within you, as you start to notice what's arising within you, that's where the feminine can then start to hold space. Because for me to notice the arisings, I need to be able to sit with them. I need to come from the responsive component of me. I need to notice this through awareness. And as it arises, it might be uncomfortable, and I might want to push it away. And if I try to push it away, I'm quite reactive. So that's the mind then. So the feminine's going, hey, I'm just going to hold space for you while you feel into this. Okay? And as you're feeling into it, then the masculine can then come and look at it and go, wow, this is really interesting. I wonder what that's related to. So the masculine now then starts to go, hey, look, I'm going to step through that door. Divine feminine, can you just hold space for me? Because I really want to go and sort this out. I really want to work this out because this stuff continues to arise within me. I know that you're saying just love it. Okay, I get that. But I want to know how to love it. And so the divine masculine steps through the door. It starts to get closer to it. It sees it. And the divine feminine is holding space for it. Masculine is in there, checking it out. It's in the darkness. It's in the shadows. It's working with it and working through it. And it's understanding what it is as it pulls it apart. And as it pulls it apart, it goes, oh, I see. Well, that doesn't serve me. That doesn't serve me. I can see where I came up with that because it was related to that. And that's an attachment theory there. And this is what happened here. And this is on my... So it's starting to, mind map and get all of these things. And while this is happening, the divine feminine, it's just holding space going, I love you. I just love you. I just love what you're doing. And I'm here to hold you. Because as the masculine's pulling things apart, it might go, oh my God, that's been there for so much. I don't know if I can do it. Divine feminine sits behind it and goes, it's okay, I've got you. And divine masculine goes, okay, cool. What's that related to? Where did that come from? And then as it starts to pull it apart, it then starts to bring it back in together and go, right. And then it steps back out and it says to divine masculine, this is what I found. And what I found is ultimately, I just need to love it. And divine feminine goes, yes, that's all you need to do, is love it. But now we both have an understanding of it. So what do we do with it now? I can share it, which I think is beautiful, but I don't necessarily have to share it. The work that I do upon the inner planes with self is then imprinted into the field of consciousness. And because we are all one, you can then access that. So through the understanding that I have in relation to the yoni man and the divine masculine holding space for the divine feminine, but ultimately everything is within the womb of creation, it is now accessible for people to tap into that is pertinent to themselves. And that's where the inner work, that's where all of this inner work that you're doing is helping the community, it's helping creation, it's helping the universe. And ultimately, it's helping the creator see itself, experience itself as an integrated vessel of love in that which it already is. And I think that's the beautiful thing about it too. So we can use this within a practical application of within our world, but we can also use it from a perspective of tapping into divine consciousness, because upon the inner planes of existence, within the non-physical, the adept that is aligned within its energy body shines so bright for other non-physical that it is a beacon. It is a beacon of light for the non-physical as well as the physical. And, a beautiful experience that I had the other day, and it was just at the Setting Intentions workshop, is that one of the participants said, Maurice, I just can't get too close to you because when I get close to you, I actually start to cry. And now, I don't know if that was a compliment or something else, but obviously I took it as a compliment. I went, that's really interesting. And also she's got the book, and so whenever she picks up the book and she'll read a couple of pages, she then starts to cry. And I shared this with a really beautiful friend of mine, and through that conversation, we sort of, in a sense, realised that It's obviously a frequency thing, but what was triggering, or not triggering, but what was being revealed for that person is that they were remembering the infinite wisdom part of them was remembering who they were. And as they came into contact with me, the vibrational rate that I was emitting, or whatever I am, was so high for them that it actually shook them. And when it shakes people, then you then start to cry. It's like when I meditate and I'm channeling and inviting non-physical of a higher frequency, of a higher density, tears will fall from my eyes, and I'll also get really contracted and rigid as well too. So it's the higher frequencies. So this is the work that we're doing. The work that we're doing from this perspective is that as you work upon yourself, you then place upon the field, you place upon consciousness. Other selves as yourself can then access that through meditation. Even through this conversation, it can be revealing many things for you as well. Okay? So, there's the Yoni man. The Yoni man, and notice it's not about the Yoni man, because the Yoni, it's the womb of creation. It's the feminine. It's the female. It's the female. It's the Yoni man. It is the integrated concept of divine masculine and divine feminine. And this exists within everybody. Masculine form and feminine form. Beautiful, beautiful insights, beautiful arisings. Really wanted to express that in this way to you, and hope that made sense. You might have to watch it a couple of times. Yes, Yoni man. Thank you, Ali, for watching, and for everybody who's been watching today. Thank you for staying on, because it was just a really beautiful experience that I wanted to share with you. And this exists within you, each and every one of you. Okay? So, any comments you want to put down below, please do that. Next week, I'm going to actually talk about the multiverse, multi-universes, all happening simultaneously. So that's a bit of a quantum physics perspective, but it's also a metaphysical and spiritual perspective as well too. Okay, so I'll see you next Monday, 10 a.m. and yeah, all the best with, I guess, the first week in 2021. We'll see what arises for you. All right. Thank you, everybody. I will talk to you soon and see you very soon. Right. Bye-bye.